Level 1. The Suitcase Smuggler. You're 24 and broke, pulling a double at a duty-free kiosk in San Ysidro, right on the California line. You run the register, you mop it close, and you tell the girl at the taco stand you work in international trade. The mop is the trade. Your Nike Cortez still have the swap meet tag under the tongue $3, and the guy would not come down. One of your regulars is a man named Marcus, tips in crumpled American ones. Tonight, he slides a wrapped carton of fake Rolexes across the glass and asks you to walk it through the pedestrian lane in your suitcase, past U.S. Customs for a couple $100. You say no. So he says it loud, for the room, flicks open a brass Zippo and grins. A mule with a conscience is just a coward with a Samsonite, and everybody laughs. That's the trap. Once the room laughs, there's no way to say no again without proving him right. He didn't out-argue you, he out-joked you, and nobody warns you that's a way to lose. So you take the suitcase, and the steel ball-bearing Marcus presses into your hand on the way out. Lucky wait, he calls it. You walk a stranger's contraband past a man with a Glock on his hip, you squeeze that little steel ball, and your hands don't shake. No sweat, no pulse, nothing. Just calm. That's the night you find out you're world class at the one thing guaranteed to end you. Not singing, not running fast. This. And that calm is going to get noticed. It's going to get you promoted, and promoted again, and again until 15 years from now. 3 governments are running a task force named after your shipping routes, and the man calling you a coward tonight is begging you to let him drive. But right now it's just you, one suitcase, and a walk through a lane. Level 2. The border runner. 2 cars up in the vehicle lane, a K9 handler is walking a German Shepherd down the line, and this dog is hitting every trunk like each one personally owes him money. Marcus moved you up after the 3rd suitcase. You don't sweat, he said. That's a car skill, not a bag skill. So now you drive. And you're behind the wheel of a gray Nissan Sentra that is not registered to you, the official vehicle of a man who does not want to be remembered in a lane that is not moving, with $40,000 of product built into the door panels, gas needle dead on half. You're dressed like a man coming off a shift he hates. Dickies, a Ross dress foreless flannel, boots with honest scuffs. Because that is now the entire art form. You dress for a job you don't have to disappear from a crime you do. And driving, it turns out, is a religion. With commandments. You run an app that tracks the lane wait times to the minute. You cross at shift change when the tired officers are counting down to relief and their soul has already clocked out. You never use the same car twice in a week. You keep the tank at half to full looks like you're fleeing, empty looks like you're loitering, half looks like a Tuesday. Nobody has ever been arrested for looking like a Tuesday. You've made yourself the single most boring man at the entire border, on purpose. Because boring is bulletproof. That's the theory. Then the shepherd reaches your car, circles the trunk once, twice, sits, hard, nose up, real proud of himself. The handler keys his radio, points you to secondary, and every organ you own quietly changes its home address. Now secondary is a concrete bay under white light where they take your entire car apart and then mail you the bill. That's the detail that stays with you. They dismantle your Sentra looking for drugs, and then they invoice you for it. You ease into the space, kill the engine, hand over the keys with a face like mild annoyance while your pulse tries to climb out through your collar and file its own paperwork. They run a mirror under the chassis, they pop the trunk, and they pull out AMC Donald's bag. Your cousin borrowed the car Sunday and left half a quarter-pounder rotting under the seat. The dog wasn't hitting on 40 grand behind factory panels. The dog was hitting on a cheeseburger. This highly trained federal animal, the pride of Homeland Security, locked onto a 2-day-old quarter-pounder with cheese. Wrong day. Good nose. They wave you through, disgusted at you, at the burger, at their own dog, and you drive into California shaking. Not from the dog, from what you saw when that trunk came open. You'd reset one interior panel with the wrong length screws, and one single screw head was sitting proud of the metal by a finger's width. 10 more minutes of one bored officer's hand, and that's a cell. You got saved by a hamburger, and a hamburger is not a plan. So you stop trusting luck, because luck is a cheeseburger, and you cannot schedule a cheeseburger. You learn concealment like a trade factory screws, factory torque, adhesive and magnets that match the plant. Seems a mechanic wouldn't question. You learn a car until it lies better than you ever could. There's an old runner named Chai who holds court at a Buria truck off Ate Mesa. 30 years crossing, never done a single day inside. You buy him a plate consommé, the whole event, and ask him how. He laughs at you with his mouth full, which is its own answer. Drivers get caught, mijo. All of them. It's only ever a question of when. Wipes his chin. The ones who never get caught, they don't drive. They own the boat. They never once touch the water. Own the boat. You turn that one over for a week like the bearing in your pocket. Then Marcus calls, says the border's gone hot, and he's pulling you off cars for good. Hands you a phone with one number saved in it. No name. Time to go deeper than the line, he says. You take the phone. You don't ask deeper into what, and the not asking is the tell. A smart man asks. You wanted the answer more than you wanted to be safe, and those were never the same phone call. Level 3. The contraband courier. 3 in the morning on Interstate 15, an hour past Barstow, out where the desert stops bothering to have anything in it. And there's a smear of white powder on the trunk carpet that was absolutely not there in San Diego. The number Marcus gave you sends you inland now. Phoenix.
Vegas.
LA sealed packages you're told never to open, 1,500 a run. And let's be adults, the weight in your trunk stopped being fake Rolexes several exits ago. You pull onto the shoulder, hazards ticking, heart going, and lift the back. One of the shrink-wrapped bricks split at the corner. It's bleeding into the felt like somebody spilled the world's most expensive flour. You're carrying 11 of these to a warehouse outside Vegas, and you are standing on the shoulder of a federal highway with a highway patrol cruiser sweeping past every 90 seconds. And a leak you cannot unleak. You can't put it back. It's not toothpaste, which is the problem, because it behaves exactly like toothpaste. You made yourself rules the day you started. Never open a package. Never carry a gun. Never a single mile over the limit. You do 64 in a 65 and feel like a saint. The rules made you clean, you told yourself. A courier, not a criminal. Just transport. Basically FedEx with a secret. The rules do not do one thing for you at 3 a.m. on the shoulder. Here's the choice. Dump the split brick in the desert, deliver 10, eat the loss, and explain to men you've never met why their $40,000 load came up light. Or fix it, deliver 11, be late. Late is a conversation. Short is a conversation with a dentist you didn't schedule. And you've got the wrap and the tape for it, a shoebox in the wheel well, a Nike box. The shoe's long gone because a careful courier keeps a repair kit where the shoes used to be. That was never the question. The question is where? You cannot do surgery on the shoulder of I-15 with a cruiser strobing past. So you remember the motel receipt in the door pocket, a room 2 exits back you paid for and never slept in, because that's a rule too. You drive to it, and under a bathroom fan that sounds like it's dying, you rewrap the brick seam by seam, matching the tension of the factory wrap until you genuinely cannot tell which one tore. Your mother wanted you to be an accountant. In a way, your hands never shake. You notice it the way you'd notice the weather. You roll into the warehouse 2 hours late. The man who takes the load mid-level, old chain, eyes like he hasn't slept since the Clinton administration, runs a thumb across the reseals, feeling for the flaw. He stops on the one you fixed, turns it under the light. He can't find it. He looks up at you like you changed species. Who packed this? I did, on the road. He does not say good job. Men like him have never once said good job. He tips his chin at the guy next to him and says, next time, I want him. Like you're a good wrench he just decided to keep in his own drawer. And that's the second you stop being a body. A body is interchangeable, used once, forgotten, no thank you card. But a reliable body, one that fixes the leak instead of dumping it, that shows up late instead of not at all, that body gets a name, gets asked for, gets kept. You think that's a promotion. It's the same color. They just gave you more chain, so now it feels like walking. Marcus hears about it inside a week, and for the first time his voice on the phone has a little burr in it, because a client asking for you by name is a client who could one day call you without dialing him first. He does not like that arithmetic. And neither, it turns out, should you, but you're 25 and somebody important said they want you. So you're not doing arithmetic, you're doing a small private dance. 2 runs later, the tire-dyed man makes you an offer. Quit the little courier hops. Come coordinate a real load. 1 truck, real freight, real cargo, hidden in plain sight. Double the money. And the part he sells hard, no more powder on your own 2 hands. You say yes before you finish the thought, who takes the risk once my hands are clean? You finish that thought later, in a bathroom. You do your best thinking in bathrooms now, apparently. Level 4. The cargo smuggler. The customs officer at the Otay Mesa cargo dock walks the whole length of your trailer, stops at the rear doors, taps his clipboard, and says the one word that ends men. X-ray. Your driver goes gray. Genuinely gray, like the Sentra. You're standing 40 feet back in a high-vis vest and a hard hat holding a manifest that reads 40 pallets of ceramic floor tile. And you do not go gray because you built this entire load around exactly this word. This is the commercial lane now, not a Sentra with a hollow door. A full tractor trailer through the busiest cargo crossing on the continent. And it turns out everything you knew about smuggling was the wrong school. You had a street education. This is the MBA. Because up here it is not a nerve game. It's a paper game. You learn that fast. A customs broker who files clean. A manifest that matches to the pound. A bonded warehouse where a load can legally sit and breathe. An importer of record, a real company, real tax ID. A real boring history of buying tile so that when they pull the file, it's boring all the way to the bottom. The best smugglers never touch the product. They touch documents. You went from hiding things in cars to hiding things in QuickBooks, and it makes your old life look like a lemonade stand where the lemonade was 40 kilos. But an X-ray does not read paper. It reads density. And that was the problem you spent 3 weeks killing. Product tucked in a pallet reads wrong on a scanner, too dense here, hollow there, a silhouette that has no business inside a box of tile. So you didn't hide it behind the tile. You built it into the pallet cores and packed the voids to match. You bought an actual case of the real ceramic, weighed it, studied reference scans like a man cramming for a test he cannot retake, and matched your load's density to the real thing inside a rounding error. You now know more about ceramic floor tile than any legitimate flooring salesman in the state, and you will never once put that on a resume. You watch the trailer crawl into the scanner bay. The image comes up on a monitor angled away from you. A minute passes that lasts a full season. Winter specifically. The officer signs the sheet, waves the truck on. Your driver climbs down in the yard shaking, laughs the wrong kind of laugh, grabs your shoulder. "You're a genius," he says. "You're an actual genius." And he means it, and it's the nicest thing anybody said to you since the Little Caesars, and the Little Caesars fired you. And there it is again, the calm, the San Ysidro calm. Same steady nothing in your chest except now it isn't one bag on your back. It's a 40,000-pound truck, a driver's whole life, a load worth more than every paycheck you've ever earned stacked end to end. And your hands are dry. Then you notice the thing you don't have a word for. Your hands weren't on that truck, his were. If the density had read wrong, they cuff him at the dock and you drive home in a rental. You've quietly moved yourself out of the lane. You feel the relief of it, and right underneath the relief, cool and quiet, is something that is definitely not relief. You'll learn its name later. It's got a long name. One trailer becomes two. Two becomes 3 a week. You physically cannot be at every crossing, packing every pallet, riding every load. There's only one of you, and you checked. So you start hiring. A packer, a second driver, a broker on retainer. You stop being the man who moves the product. You become the man who tells other men to. Marcus goes silent a full month. Then one text lands at 2 a.m. No hello, no punctuation. Big loads, big eyes, don't forget who found you. Reads like a warning. It's really envy in a trench coat. He can smell that his mule has outgrown the barn, and he has no idea how far the barn goes now. Level 5. The smuggling coordinator. The burner lights up on the nightstand at 2 a.m. with 4 words that stop your heart mid-beat. Tavo got pulled over. You're not in a Sentra anymore. You're in a 2-bedroom rental in Chula Vista with 3 phones charging in a neat little row and a spiral notebook of numbers that would bury you for 11 consecutive lifetimes. You run a crew now. 3 drivers, a packer, and a broker named Ruiz who files your manifests and skims a little off the top, and you let him. Because a man who steals a predictable amount is a man you understand. But your driver's touch product. And Tavo just got stopped in Riverside doing 79 and a 65 with a kilo he was never supposed to have. Because Tavo got greedy and shaved a little off a load to sell on the side. You built an entire empire on 64 and a 65, and this man is out here doing 79 with a felony in the door. He's looking at 10 years. And Tavo knows your name, your face, this rental, the whole thing. This is the part nobody warns you about when you stop touching the product. Product can't testify. People can. Product has never once, in the history of the world, sat down with a detective and a sprite and told him everything. Every man you bring in is a brand new door into your cell, and you just found out one of those doors has a cop leaning on the other side of it. There's a supplier above you the man the tire-dyed distributor himself answers to. Old, quiet, moves real weight, and a week before this, He'd looked at your notebook and your routes and said a thing you haven't been able to put down. Most guys have the stomach and no head, he said. A few have the head and no stomach, taps the notebook. You've got both. You know what that turns into? Men who move real weight don't have crews. They have systems, their own routes, their own boats. Almost smiles.
You're on the road to kingpin, hee-ho, and you don't even walk like you know it.
You walk like you know it now. You practiced a little. So when Tavo goes down, you have a choice, and it decides what kind of animal you become. The men above you would tell you it's simple. A scared man in a cell is a leak, and you seal a leak. You don't. You put the best defense lawyer in Riverside County on retainer cash. You drop money into his mother's account every month, quietly. No note, though the first month the bank flagged it, which was its own small ordeal. You send word through his cousin, not a threat, a promise. Take the charge, say nothing, and your family eats and there's a job waiting the day you walk out. He takes the 10 years. Gives them a name that isn't yours. And that's where you learn the thing that makes you more dangerous than Marcus ever was. Fear keeps a man quiet until he's more scared of prison than of you, and then he sings. Loyalty keeps him quiet forever. You didn't scare Tavo. You made him need you to win. A man will bite through his own tongue for the boss who's paying his mother's light bill. That's your weapon. Not a gun. Not a threat. People want to work for you. You are, somehow, a good boss. The best boss most of these men have ever had, and the job is federal crime. And then you catch yourself doing it the Zippo. Flip open, flip shut when you think. Marcus's tell, living in your own hand now, moved in without asking, didn't even leave a deposit. Then Marcus calls. Not to warn you, not to collect. To ask if you've got room for one more runner. Him. He'll drive for you now. You sit there with the phone warm against your ear and the lighter cooling in your other hand, and you understand the leash finally changed hands. The man who called you a coward with a Samsonite wants to carry your bags. I'll think about it, you tell him. And you let him sit with that, because you're not a nice person anymore, you just have excellent benefits. Then a man far bigger than Ruiz sends word. He'd like to meet the guy with the clean routes and the loyal crew. The door out of the street swings wide open. You have no idea it only locks from the outside. Level 6, the logistics mastermind. She hands you a stuck container and 48 hours. You solve it in 9. That's the whole interview. No resume, which is a mercy, because yours says Little Caesars, 9 days. Her name, the only name you ever get, is the architect. She runs freight forwarding companies that are completely boringly real, that ship real furniture for real clients out of Ontario, California, and that also, threaded through all that legitimate tonnage, move things that would end 100 careers. A container of hers is frozen in a Long Beach yard on a paperwork hold, and she wants to watch what you do with it. What you do is call a manifest clerk who owes a man who owes you. The entire industry runs on who owes who. It's a ladder built out of favors. Refile the box as a bonded warehouse transfer and have it rolling inland before the second sunrise. No muscle. No panic. A phone and a clean sheet of paper. She hires you into a world you didn't know was up there. And here's what nobody warns you about the top of the game. It's boring. Spreadsheets. Shell companies stacked like Russian nesting dolls. An LLC that owns an LLC that owns a trucking outfit in Ontario. QuickBooks. Again. A real office with a real receptionist named Diane who genuinely believes you import industrial ceramics, which you do. You just import a couple other things in the same crates. You spend your days on sailing schedules and invoices, and at 31, you develop a genuine, doctor confirms, stomach ulcer from a completely fake job. You wear a collared shirt now, a polo. You are further from a kilo than you have ever been in your life, and closer to a federal prison than you can even picture. Then somebody tests the machine. A container of yours $2 million of product buried inside a legit load gets hijacked straight out of the Long Beach yard. Gone. Driven off by men who knew the exact box and the exact hour. Your crew wants blood. Ruiz is already naming who to send. Ruiz always has a list. The old rules of the street say you answer this with a body in a ditch. You don't. You spend 2 days on the phones instead. You find the leak a yard foreman on the hijacker's payroll, feeding them your schedule. And you don't hurt him. You buy him. You pay him triple, turn him completely inside out, and let him feed his old boss's beautiful wrong numbers until you walk your $2 million back through a bonded transfer, leaving the rival crew an empty truck and a foreman who now works for you. You win a war and never raise your voice. You did it from a desk in a polo shirt next to Diane. Marcus is there for it. He's your runner now. You let him drive, and some part of you wanted him close for exactly this. He watches you end a hijacking with a spreadsheet and a phone call, and for the first time in all the years you've known him, he is afraid of you. You flip the Zippo open, open his tell, living in your hand, and you let him watch it. He looks away first. He always looks away first now. This same man who once had the whole taco stand laughing. The architect pours you a coffee and tells you the truth about where you're standing. Everyone you've met so far rents, she says. The distributor rents trucks. I rent routes. Even I answer to a schedule somebody else owns. Let it sit. There's one rung above renting. It's owning your own ships, your own men in the ports, your own officials who erased the problem before you even hear it, had a name. Nobody's schedule but yours. Studies your face. That's not a bigger job. That's a kingpin. And you're the first one I've met who's actually built for the doors to open. Then she brings you all the way into the logistics arm of an organization whose name you won't say out loud, even in an empty room. You're not independent anymore. You're an asset of something enormous. And the thing about being an asset, you learn this the exact second the door clicks shut behind you, is simple. Assets don't get to quit. Employees quit. Assets get depreciated. Level 7? The cartel logistician? A container is sitting under a hold at the port of Manzanillo. The men above you have already decided somebody snitched. And you are the only person alive who knows it was nothing but bad luck. Which is the worst thing you can be in this business, the only man holding the truth in a room that's already voted. You run the northern logistics now, sailing schedules across 3 continents. Port officials on a payroll you administer like any other payroll with spreadsheets, like it's a Wendy's. You move product through legitimate global trade the way blood moves through a body, constant, invisible, load-bearing. You never see a gram. You never see a gun. Your daily fear is not a cop. It's a shipping delay. That's the whole horror movie now. A boat is 4 hours behind schedule, and men who own guns start asking who to blame. You have the exact anxieties of a UPS regional manager and none of the health insurance. Right now, the answer they want is a broker in Mexico who did nothing wrong. The box got flagged by an inspector doing his job. Random, but random, does not calm a cartel. It's the one word they refuse to accept, and the broker has a wife, 2 kids, and about a day left unless you can prove a negative. So you do what you do. You pull the inspection logs, the ship's rotation, 3 other boxes held the same week for the same reason, and build a case out of paper showing a pattern of luck, not a leak. You reroute the next 4 loads to hammer it home. You save a man's life with a spreadsheet, again. And here's what you notice, sitting back in the quiet after. You didn't fight for him because of the photo taped inside his binder, 2 kids in matching Christmas pajamas, the wife squinting into the sun. You fought for him because a dead broker is a loose end, an investigation, a hole in your route. You saw the photo. It just didn't move the needle. You did the humane thing for a completely inhuman reason. And the part of you that stood in that pedestrian lane at 24 and felt something that guy didn't show up for this one. You only even noticed because for 1 second you went looking for him and the room was empty. You got very good and very cold, and both of those arrived in the same box. Then Marcus gets sloppy. He's still your runner, and he started drinking and talking, and one night he damn near walks a live route into a bar conversation in Long Beach out loud to a stranger with a beer in his hand. The kind of mistake that burns an entire line to the ground. The men above you would put him in the dirt and never think about him again. You don't do that either, but you don't save him. You cut him loose, strip him of the roots, the money, the protection, everything that ever made him worth being scared of, and you exile him into nothing. He comes to you shaking, and he begs. Actually begs the man from the duty-free counter, the brass Zippo, the easy cruelty, the whole talker stand act begging. And you let him finish every single word. You don't rush him. You've got time now. Then you flip the lighter shut in his face and hand him back his own line, folded up neat. A fixer with a conscience, you tell him, is just a liability with a phone. And you watch it land. 15 years closed in 1 sentence. His own joke kept in your pocket the whole time like a bearing. He walks out into the parking lot with nothing, and you feel nothing, and you slowly realize those are the same fact wearing 2 different coats. The organization is delighted with you. They want to expand your reach, your own vessels now, your own officials, direct international routes with your name printed on absolutely nothing. And 2,000 miles north, a task force pins a fresh index card to a wall of shipping manifests. No face, No name. Just a handle they've started using for the ghost who moves everything and touches nothing. They're calling him the logistician. They have no idea what he looks like. They're about to be disappointed. He looks like a guy who'd manage a Costco. Level 8. The international smuggler. You take them up on the water. You own the route now. All of it. A front shipping company with a real fleet, a flag you pay a small country for, bought officials in 3 ports on 2 oceans. Product crosses South America to Europe to the US through your holds 90% of it, exactly what the manifest says. Real cargo turning real profit, the other 10% invisible inside it. And under the water you don't even hide anymore, you disappear. A pair of low-riding semi-submersibles that ride the crossing with only a snorkel breaking the surface, each one carrying more in a single trip than your first 100 suitcases combined. Nobody's out there looking for a boat that's mostly underwater. Coast Guard flies over the top of them and sees ocean. You built a submarine before you ever learned to swim. On paper, you are a self-made freight magnate. A trade magazine wanted to put you on the cover. You said no. That was harder to turn down than it should have been. You're the closest thing this world has to a smuggling kingpin, and you got here without ever once raising your voice. No bodies, no shootouts, no war. You built a criminal empire in an indoor voice. And nobody who fears that word kingpin has any idea it belongs to a man who keeps his tank at exactly half and files his paperwork on time. They're about to find out. Because the same discipline that built all of this, quiet and careful and identical every single time, has been drawing a line for 15 years. And a line that clean eventually points at somebody. Level 9. The smuggling kingpin. On a corkboard in a federal building, every clean shipment you ever ran is a colored pin, and the pins have finally connected into a shape. You made it. Officially. The organization hands you the last title there is your own vessels, your own officials, direct routes with your name printed on nothing, nobody's schedule but yours. Smuggling kingpin. The word every man in this story was climbing toward, and it lands on you without a sound. That is the exact thing that undoes you. The task force stopped hunting a violent man a year ago. No bodies, no shootouts, no war. Just clean paper and quiet routes and a man who never loses his temper. Their profile isn't of a monster. It's of somebody disciplined, careful, a man who keeps the tank at exactly half. Your discipline was never a disguise. It was a fingerprint. Every single careful thing you ever did to stay invisible drew the same careful line over and over until the line had a shape and the shape had a name. You were so consistent they could set a watch by you. You were so boring you became visible. Nobody had ever been caught for being boring before. You're a pioneer. And the tip that turns a profile into a warrant comes from exactly where you should have known it would. Marcus, broke, bitter, ruined, calling a hotline. He doesn't have your name, never needed it. He gives them the pattern. The no violence rule he watched you keep for years. The paper habits. The lucky weight ritual he handed you himself at a duty-free counter 15 years ago. He'd rather watch you fall than watch his mule become a king he never could be. He handed you the bearing at the start, and now he's come to collect the whole hand. You find out you're blown with 12 hours to run, and you have every exit. A jet on a private strip. A passport that isn't yours, in a name that's clean. A villa where extradition can't reach, and the weather's perfect. You built all those doors yourself because building exits was the first thing the border ever taught you. You get as far as the ticket counter, and you stop. You set the steel ball bearing down on the laminate the lucky weight Marcus pressed into your palm at 24. The one you carried across every border and every load, and you look at it sitting there beside a bowl of complimentary mints. Running means leaving the only people who ever stayed loyal. It means doing all of it again, somewhere else, from the bottom, forever. And the calm that walked you through San Ysidro at midnight, the calm that made you a kingpin for the first time in 15 years, it has nowhere left to walk. You don't run. So here it is, the top of the ladder. The last level, the one they all chased. Smuggling kingpin. It's a federal facility. No fleet. No office. No ball bearing. A cell with a drain in the floor. They convict you under a law written for men with private armies you never had. They make a documentary about you. You watch it in the day room with the sound off your own face on a screen bolted to the wall between a clock and an old Gatorade ad, and it looks like a stranger, because it is one. They flattened you into a kingpin, gave you a nickname and a red string and a dramatic narrator. The men who fear that word never met the kid rubbing a ball bearing at the pedestrian lane, terrified a man wasn't going to call him back. You count. It's just what you do now. Containers, ports, routes, The men you kept loyal. The one you cut loose. There's one number you have never once said out loud how many tons crossed because of you. You still don't say it. Some numbers you keep off the manifest. And at 3 a.m, you finally see the shape of the whole thing. The calm that made you a kingpin is the exact same calm that made you a mule. You were never getting off this road. Every promotion was a smaller room than the last. The kiosk, the Centra, the office, the ships. This. You just ran out of ports. Somewhere tonight, at a border, a broke 24-year-old is mopping a duty-free floor for the price of a tank of gas, telling the girl at the taco stand he works in international trade. He's got swap meet shoes, a copper charge, and a mother who's tired. And a charming man who tips in American singles is sliding a wrapped carton across the glass, flipping open a brass Zippo, watching that kid's face, and deciding. You know exactly what the man is about to say. You know the joke, and you know it lands. You know exactly what the kid is about to do. And you cannot warn him, because the only person alive who'd believe a single word of it is already sitting in the cell. The cycle continues. Same lane, new shoes. If this story stayed with you, like and subscribe for more.